Hello, this is David Hughes with another video for Genealogy Basics. Today we're going to look at probate records and deeds. Um, so I'm not going to go really deep into these records and deeds. What I want to point out is that there's a lot of websites that really give you the deep dive. What I want to show you today is just the benefits. So we're going to take a look at some probate record and deed and see some of the information that we could find out. And then I'll also talk about some other type of land records. So why don't we start with the probate records? And I'm not sure if you saw this, but when we were researching Harriet Wilder, along the way, there were some probate records that came up. And it turns out that if you follow these links, um, we find the will of Harriet Wilder. Now, I'm going to come back to this because, and then here's an executor bond that has to be put up for Harriet Wilder. The executor has to put money up to ensure that he follows the process properly. So, but let me jump over and let's find these records a different way. So Ancestry has indexed and provided probate records. In Ancestry, we can go follow the same method we look for deeds, which I demonstrated in class. But here we can go and we are going to go to Lake County, is where Harriet passed away. We're going to search. Let's also restrict to online records. And we go down to not vital records, but probate records. And you'll find a lot of different books. So what we could do is look for different information. What you would want to find is the case file name. This wasn't easily found, but a normal way you would go is look at something like these journals. And so I'm going to open it up in a different tab, that this link here, and you'll see all the different probate. And what these are journals of the court proceedings. And we know that from the other searching that she died in about April 1900. So we're going to look in this journal, and I'm gonna speed things up here since I've done this. But you would look through the index, and W's are on page 99, and when you go down, you would find near the end here, Harriet Wilder. And in this book, there would be documents on page 564, 568. Again, I know where these are located. We're just going to pop over to there. And if we come down, we can then see the matter. This probate was filed in April 1900. There's not a lot of information here other than that the wills were filed, and that Martin A. Tuttle is performing being in the administrator of this estate. And looking around, I found some news articles or advertisements that Martin A. Tuttle is an attorney. And it turns out this is a nephew of Harriet Wilder. Okay, so we know that there's a filing. Now we know it was filed late April, so soon after Harriet's passing. And we could go back here. So we look first in the journals, then we could look for wills. And the wills are not so direct. So we have to look in it turns out we look in this probate file, probate records, um, and we'll find that even though it just says probate records, these are all wills. And uh, what we're looking for, the will is in wills K, book K, and we're going to look in image 336. So we'll be opening up the same will that you saw in Ancestry. And here is the will. And it's always great to find the will. In the will, the way it's filed, that they also provide heirs or next of kin. And what you get is a list of people, but also their relationships. So probates can give you this information because it's whether or not there's a will filed or a person dies without a will, if there's any sort of property that has to be processed, they have to do due diligence in finding next of kin. And so this will be filed somewhere. What is more interesting, a lot of this information was already found with other types of records, but the in here, we'll keep going through here, and it's on the next page. What we'll find here is information about two brothers and two sisters that had died when they were very young. And they were buried in Vernon, New York, where this family originally lived. And I did not have these names, no documentation, direct documentation of these names. And here, part of her will is that she wanted to get markers put on the graves of these brothers and sisters. So this was invaluable. And with this information, and in the previous part of the paragraph here, she was also wanting to pay for a marker for her parents and her. So her parents must have been buried without a marker. And then with that, we were able to then go to find a grave. And then see here is the grave marker that she paid for out of her estate for her parents and herself. And it turns out close by is then this marker, even though it was placed in Ohio, it still provides birth and death dates for her young siblings. So this huge amount of information. And then, Ancestry won't have this, but if you can then find the case files, and Ohio is great for providing a lot of information. But if you go into the case file here, and we're going to go in there, and we have, this was not quick. I had to do a lot of searching to find this, and there's a lot of different places to go. But what we want to do is go to case file 396, this one right here. And yeah, so let me try that again. Didn't load up correctly on me here. So if we come down to case file number 396, here it is right here. And we will go to start here. What we will find is there's a file in the courts for the probate and all this information on here. There is 80 images of all the different receipts and accounts, but in particular, there is one page in here that we'll go to which is the application to probate. But in here is the only place I've found so far with the date of her death, that she died on about the 4th of April in 1990, or yeah, 1900. And so that is real important to get down to her exact date of death. And then some other information can be in here. And we're going to go to this. Oh, yeah, it's just a typed up uh, version of this where we get, instead of handwritten, it's a typed up version and maybe a little bit easier. But in here are documents about the value of the estate, the bills paid, um, interesting things like $10 paid to pay for the singers at the funeral and things like this. So just a wealth. If you can find these probate files, there's a huge amount of information. And in some ways, in some aspects, it could be the only way to break open a case and find your way through a brick wall. Okay, so that's the benefits of probate files. I won't go into the whole ins and outs, all the terminology around probate. That's a different course and could take hours just to talk about that in depth. But I just wanted to demonstrate the value here. Um, so what we're going to take a look at then, and we're going to switch over to deeds. We took a quick look at this in class here. We went into these deeds and we looked at this index. And when we look into this index, we're going to look at image 242. And zoom in on that and looking about 60%, about 2/3 way down. We're going to look at this one right here, the Amanda Wilder. This is a relative to Harriet, sister-in-law. That Harriet Amanda Wilder purchased this 8 3/8 acres, or no, 3/8 acres for $800. So this is the index, but it gives you the information for the volume and page number. So volume 3, page 8 in the deeds. And what we can then do is go back here, go down to volume 3, right in here. And turns out it's image 8. But when you look at this, and this is not unusual for deeds of this age. Here's Amanda Wilder. It's handwritten out, but it gives a lot of information about where the property is. But what is very interesting in these earlier deeds is that the property lines might refer to the neighboring property. And here you talk about the Hiram Brown farm, and there's some farm names. And what you would do is keep track of those as neighbors, and there might be interaction, maybe marriages between neighboring families. For interesting for us is down here. This was signed in the presence of a Judge G.N. Tuttle and H.E. Wilder. There's Harriet Wilder as a witness. And what's interesting is G.N. Tuttle then actually marries a sister of Harriet, and how they're all interrelated. And then G.N. Tuttle's son is Martin Tuttle, who was the executor for the estate of Harriet Wilder. So these deeds, you look at all the names on deeds and keep track of the different major people, the signers, the witnesses, the judges' names. maybe even the clerk. Uh, but it just provides more information about your ancestors and might offer clues that prove that or give evidence that you found the right identity for your ancestor. Okay, we're going to switch real quickly back here. So here's a lot of links about wills and probate records. These will be in the comment section of the video, but I will also, these are also pages in your materials from class. I'll take also a note here quickly on the Homestead Research. We'll take a look at this real quick. Going back here, homesteads are filed with the Bureau of Land Management, and the link is there, but this is the GLO, the uh, General Land Office records. And if you go to this site and you think that your family is, homesteaded, and this is already pre-populated because I just did this before showing the video, but I have uh, research on a family line that is Overseth. In some of our other videos, we've talked about Overseth. And if you search in Wyoming, then Bert Overseth, that turns out to be one of the ancestors being researched. And if you go there and pull this up, it will give you the homestead patent that describes this piece of property up in Wyoming that was obtained from the government um, and, at the time of Franklin D. Roosevelt. So um, this is a great site, and in some cases, there's a lot more information. You can then use the site to look for surveys and the like. So uh, this is a key resource looking for homesteads. Again, there's a whole bunch more information around homesteads. We won't go into detail, but I just want to let you know that this is available. But anyway, I appreciate you following along here. We're all wrapped up on this topic, and talk to you later.